Hello, this is my fourth project log. This week, I have, or over the past couple of weeks, I have been creating this room editor for my project so that I can actually create the room templates that the players would be able to play, and the program would be able to take all the room templates and associate numbers or be able to choose which rooms to be put in the dungeon based on IDs. Those IDs will correspond to the actual data in the XML file that the room editor has created. So what I did was I created this level editor in processing, and it has like a room manager, button manager to deal with like all the different buttons that I'll be able to click on, a room manager to deal with all the rooms, and as well as that, it can import and export all the rooms. A tile class that actually just displays the colour. So if we get into it, click play. Let me just move this over. We can see a standard room, and what I'm able to do is that I can change my tile from this select tile thing, and I can just do something like this. I could just draw onto the screen, change tile, and do that. So currently 0, or this brown, is like a floor tile. 1 is a gap or a rock, so impassable tile, however things can be shot over them. 2 is one of this wall tile here, another wall tile. 3 is a door, so it's not going to be used like in the middle. 4 is boss, like the boss floor. So what you'll see in a boss room would be the floor would be a different colour. However, in the game, it's a dark red, whilst I haven't changed it in the editor here. And 5 is a spare tile that I haven't worked with yet. So if I were to draw something like that, I can add a new room and go back to the old room. So I can do another design and go back to this room. And if I went, okay, I like this room, I'm going to copy it. It copies it to the end, and I now got 2 copies. I can change this now, and it hasn't changed the first one. If I don't like a room, I can delete it. No. So in rooms, not just going to have room designs, you can also have entities. So we have to click on the entity active, which disables these buttons. So you can see selected tile doesn't change. But if I were to select on 1, it will place these little entities about. And the entities can be either, what I'm planning is enemies, anything that the player can interact with, such as portals to the next floor, as well as treasure and pickups that allow the player to progress. So 0 is like a delete, so it sort of deletes all of these entities here. So 1 is a walker enemy, 2 is a ghost enemy, 3 is a slider enemy, so sliders go in a predictable pattern, 4 is a shooter, so it's like a turret, and 5 is a chaser, so pretty much like the walker, however has a faster speed, and after 5 seconds of movement it pauses for 3 seconds. And finally 6 is a portal to the next floor. So if I were to copy this room, you notice that it hasn't copied the entities. So this allows me to just quickly have a design and copy it after doing all this design. What I can also do is import and export the XML file. So if I were to get up the folder, Here's the folder. We can see level data.xml, and if we open that with brackets, so it's going to take a little while to open, we can see that the room, no thank you, is designed like this. So we just do something like that. So we have like all the rooms into one nice area. We can have a particular room that has an ID. It has a grid, a list of entities, the floor number, and the room type. So with the grid, that is split into columns, and that is then split into rows, and the columns have IDs, the rows have IDs, and the content is the actual tile that it's calling itself. In order for a room to have entities such as enemies, we have to have a separate field, and that is the entities one, which has an entity which says the column, the row, the type of entity, so again the ID of the entity, as well as the unique ID for this particular entity in this room. So if I were to call it, it could be get room with ID 1, and from the entities get ID 0, and it will get this specific entity. Not all entities with 3. And again, it has a floor number and a room type. So with the floor number, it's something that I'm looking into, but it's mainly where I would say, okay, only these rooms can be seen on these floors. I haven't got that in the code at the moment, but it's something that I'm thinking about. With the room type, however, you've noticed I've got normal. If we go back to the actual level editor itself, we can change the room type. So we've got normal, boss, treasure, and shop. Currently, treasure and shop aren't being used. However, I've just put them in there as like a placeholder. So a normal room is just a normal a room that could be spawned in between, and it's the main one that the player will see. The other rooms, the special rooms you could call them, will be seen at end rooms. So like the boss room will contain one of these portal entities to take them to the next floor after they have defeated the boss and all the other enemies in the room. A treasure room, which will be another end room, where the player will find an item or something to increase their score. And the shop room type, where the player can use some of that score or some of the stuff that they've collected to buy other stuff to help them. So they could be buying health, or they could be buying damage, or some other thing. And we can see that the floor number goes like that. So if we import what we've got so far, I've got 35 rooms, and we can just see a couple of the designs that I have made. Some of these haven't been, these rooms have not been balanced, and they have not been changed in regards to the playtesting which I had done earlier in the week. So here we are. We've got a normal room, and now we go to a boss room, and we notice that the boss room has the purple floor with this portal here. We can go through. Each of them has a portal. However, at the moment, I have to put the portal in order for the player to progress. We'll close this, and I'll show you room. Let me find a treasure room. I think it's ID 30 odd. It's more down the bottom. Normal room. No. Normal. I've done one like later down. There we are, boss room. So you see the boss room, and we've got 2 entities of 5, 2 entities of 3, 4 entities of 4 type, and entity type of 7. So we've got quite a few entities here, as well as the structure of the room itself. So if we were to close that. This is what I've been using to create the rooms, but we've also got the game itself. So if we play the game, going through, a few things from the playtesting being that there are no visual cues when you get hit, and you notice that the health goes down when you touch these, but there's no visual cue, and there's nothing saying that you're damaging the enemy. So, like, you go, oh, okay, it's absorbing my bullets, I don't know whether things get damaged or not. The other thing being that, you go into a room, and if there are enemies, find one, here's the boss room, I don't know if this is locked or unlocked, other than, okay, I can't do certain things. So this is one of the boss rooms, and if we just defeat quite a few of these, just to quickly sort this out. So yeah, I don't know if these are getting damaged or not. They're obviously being damaged because they're disappearing, being killed, but it's something that some people have mentioned in the playtesting. Possibly some audio cues, but that is like not really regarded quite high on my priority list. Other things also include like unfair rooms, so whether this is unfair or not, and I will have to balance it myself in the room editor. And also something where I need to track the player, and that's something that I'm going to be trying to do over the next couple of weeks, to try and do all that sort of stuff. And the other thing being treasure at the end of the boss rooms, and the other thing, which was a mini-map, possibly, to help, but there's enough variation, so I want to add enough variation for that. I think that's pretty much all the stuff that I got from my playtesting. It was just visual feedback. That is one of the bigger things. So currently I can't go into this, and also I don't know if this is an enemy or not, and whether it's taking damage. So what I want to do is to make this come into existence when it needs to. So when all the enemies have been destroyed, and that's something that I'm also working on. However, if you destroy this, I can now leave, and I can also go to the next floor. So some of these rooms are not made well, but I'll be adding more enemies, some bosses, some scores. So by next week, or by the next time I do an update, I will have more of the core elements of the game completed, such as those things. And I also fix some of the bugs, like players and enemies getting stuck on walls. So currently I'm pressing W, pressing and holding W, but I'm being stuck against the wall, which I'm not sure why that happens. I think possibly a collider is interacting with one of these other one of these other tiles here, and that's what you saw in the boss room with one of those enemy sliders, as well as making enemies that can adapt as well. So I think that's one of the big things. So we stop playing that. I think that's pretty much everything that I've done over the past couple of weeks. I've been quite jam-packed, especially with this room editor, but now I'm able to quickly create rooms, playtest them, and move on from that. So, Just to make it clear, next time I will have completed the core elements of the game, corrected the problems that were brought up, or the particular points that were brought up during the playtesting, such as unfair enemies, such as visual cues, and possibly looking into a couple of other things along with that. Adding treasure, possibly adding a couple of bosses. That means when I do get to making rooms, I can have this big variety of monsters and mechanics to play around with. Possibly some new tiles I can use. And I will also be looking into player tracking, but that might not be over the next week. Possibly a little bit after that, I will start looking into player tracking and changing the difficulty based on that. So it gives the player enough difficulty so that it's still fun, but it's still quite challenging. That's all for now, and I will see you in the next update.